Could you use a quick tip daily? How about a tip that can impact your day? My name is Raphael. Join me as I bring you tips by experts around the world. These experts have shared their knowledge and wisdom with me and will directly share them with you. Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, and comment, and I would love for you to become part of the New Tip Daily community. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me on New Tip Daily. I have a special guest. Take a look. It's Regina.
I'm here in person for
Yeah.
a change, not just virtually somewhere else in the world.
And she does travel the world. And I'm so thrilled that she took time to come here to New York and spend time with us. But you are traveling. You go all over the world. You speak at different events. So we're having an open mic today. I'm so thrilled that you are here with me today. What brings you to New York?
Well, my business is, of course, based in New York, and I am sort of in between France and New York at this time. I've always had those nomadic phases in my life. Now it's time to settle a little bit again. Doesn't mean I'm not going to travel. I will for sure, because I love traveling. I'm all about movement, dance, moving, travel. And I came here this week specifically for a presentation that I did at the New York Stock Exchange at an event hosted by STANI, the Security Traders Association of New York, long name. Right. And I was speaking at their Women in Finance breakfast. And then, of course, we are having our amazing launch event this Friday and Saturday here in Farmingdale, Long Island, for Speaking Prowess. And I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. So if you haven't booked your tickets, by the way, when was the last time that you had a cocktail for $10? Or how about how about an event? So that's what we're doing this Friday. It only costs $10 to come to our event with amazing speakers, and then we have a cocktail party, all of it included for only $10. Somebody said to me, "What are you, nuts? $10?" And I'm like, if you give it away for free, people don't see value. But if you make it pay a tiny little bit, it's a great deal. Can I tell you? The deal is beyond great. It's truly amazing when you consider the lineup of speakers that we do have. Obviously, Regina will be one of them. I will be another. And we have several others who are going to be here with us in person. When was the last time that you went to an event in person and paid just $10? You can't even go to the movies for $10. It's way more than that, right?
Absolutely. And I have to add this because I just saw this awesome space here. It is just worth a visit just for the space, really, to see this, because I know that C4 Raphael, he does these wonderful online videos all the time. He shares tips, right? But you cannot really appreciate how beautiful this space is if you don't see it in person. So come here. If it's just for the space, it's already worth it.
Thank you, Regina. So we did put a lot of effort in putting the space together to create a communication center here in Farmingdale, Long Island. And we're going to later on do some videos in the place and show you what this place truly looks like, and how we're going to capture not only the amazing speakers that we have, but we're going to teach people how to communicate better. And that's basically what this is about, right?
Yes.
Communication. And yesterday I did a talk about one skill. One skill that we should all have is communication. When you communicate properly, you can definitely get more in life, get more in your relationships, get more in your business, and get more with friendships. I had somebody reach out to me recently, and they're a little miffed at me. They're a little mad at me. And I said, hey, you know what? I don't want to keep going on texting with you. I said, call me. That's the best way to resolve something. Sometimes translation is not what we always expect it to be. And They thought something, I thought something. But when we can actually come together and speak on it, I think that speaks volumes, because my message may not be heard the way I want it to be heard. And so a lot of times in person, it makes a huge difference. Or even on the phone, you can listen to the tones, you can listen to the voice, the pitch, the speed. But in a text or email, it's all good. And we need that form of communication. But I think we also need to be able to listen, to hear,
Yeah,
to understand.
absolutely. And I think oftentimes written communication, and especially in friendships, is more for transactional stuff.
Mm.
Yes, we can also send little emojis and all the good stuff and congratulations when we don't have the opportunity to speak in person. But when it's something a little bit tricky, like one of those challenging conversations, then it's definitely better to pick up the phone or to see the person, just because, as you said, the tone of voice makes a big difference. We can say the same sentence with 5 different tones of voice and it means something completely different.
It
Right?
totally does. Like I love you, or I love you, or I love you. So think about it. Three words, right? And you can change the dynamics of it. Also, a lot of times in person, you can feel the person because of their body language, their face, the way they say the words. If they mean it, it's like, I love you, you know. Yeah, I kind of love you. So think about the expressions that we use with our face, our body, and even our voice, because we can express ourselves so differently with the tonality that we have.
Yes, absolutely. A statement can become a question just by changing the tone of voice,
Yeah.
right? By raising the voice at the end of the sentence, for example.
Yeah.
And that actually was a little bit of a fashion thing at some point. I think, especially in California, not to talk badly about anybody, but I observed it there the most, where it was sort of in to speak in that way, right?
Yeah.
And I just, it's just interesting to observe these trends as well.
You talk about different places. I was just recently in Arizona with people from different parts of the country, but I was also with a gentleman who's incredible, and he's from Canada. And at first, somebody kind of said A, like A, like everybody in Canada says A, and he kind of laughed about it, and he didn't say A initially. But later on, in deeper conversations, he would say A at the end of it, of a sentence. And I was like, there's the Canadian that came out. So it was, but I didn't point it out to him. I was just noticing it for myself, because I did not want to interrupt him or stop him from being who he is. Because a lot of times we want somebody to talk to us the way we want to be talked to, instead of the way they need to communicate. So sometimes what do we need to do? We need to find them where they are, and maybe understand them a little bit and ask questions. I think one of the things that we forget is that we always go into a conversation closed-minded. And I think we need to come open-minded and ask the questions. Is that what you meant? Is this, do I, let me rephrase what you just said so I understand it. And I think a lot of times this is where miscommunication happens, where someone says, I'll see you at 8, and everybody goes away. Meanwhile, we forgot to ask, is it AM or is it PM? If somebody shows up at AM, the other person met PM. So we need to ask the questions, and we need to be a little bit more clear with our communication.
Yeah. Or say 8 and 16.
8 and
As in
16.
many countries we do also.
Right. So for example, that's a great point, because when we talk about military time, that is super clear. Because if you say 1300, that means 1 o'clock. But for us here in the US, we're used to AM or PM. We never going to, I'll see you at 1400. That's military time. And why do you think that the military adapted that or kept that going? Because they communicate all over the world. And in order to be clear to the time, because you may be on a mission and you may have to break down a door or you may have to barricade, whatever it is, timing is critical.
Yes. You know, I grew up with 8, 13, 16 and all of that because I grew up in Germany. But we would also not really say it verbally, right? We wouldn't say it, we would write it. So we also have to say then we don't have the PM or AM. So we would say, well, 4 in the afternoon. Usually with 4, 4 in the morning is not, we don't usually meet up.
Some of us get up at that time, like you were up at that time. I was
Yeah.
up at that time.
But the thing is, we don't necessarily meet so often at 4 a.m. probably. But you never know. Yeah, absolutely.
For example, Regina and I meet when she's in France. It's 12 o'clock for her. It's 6 a.m. for me. And we do that twice a week. And sometimes we need to incorporate someone else who's going to come in our conversation, and they may be 5 hours apart. So we have to make sure that the time is right. So when we talk about scheduling, that's part of communication. When we go on the calendar, it's clear. And even, believe it or not, some people don't always write January 1st, 2024. Maybe they'll write 24 the 1st of January. So it's how we communicate and to make sure that we're clear on every part of our communication. Some people communicate slightly different, and imagine languages or customs or traditions so different and so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, dates are really important because I think, so I don't know about any other country apart from the US and probably Canada where you put the month before the day. We would put the day before the month,
Right.
like when we, for example, talk about a birth date, right? So I had to get used to that. But then I made that mistake once in a really important document that I had to sign for Germany, and I put the month first. So I put 3/6 instead of 6/3, which cost me a little bit of a problem because we get so used to certain things. And that also has to do with open-mindedness in a way, because we need to recognize that we are creatures of habit. And what sometimes having an open mind requires us to move out of that certain thinking habits or speaking habits. Like I cannot speak in the same way sometimes when I travel into a different culture, a different country, because they might get offended or they might not use language that's as abrupt as we do. These are just examples, right? And so we just really got to be careful. And then there's, of course, all the funny things about the different accents, about the different dialects, about the different use of vocabulary. Like, for example, in South Africa, there's this term, it's called load shedding. Do you know what that is?
No idea.
Load shedding is when there's not always internet because there's not always electricity sometimes, right? And they call this load shedding when they have interruptions. And in the beginning, I was always hearing load shedding. Okay. All right, that's an interesting term.
That's pretty cool.
That's an
it's like, what are you doing?
Exactly. So I thought that is okay, right? But then after some time, I figured it out.
It's not shitting, it's shedding.
Exactly, because I heard it. I didn't see it written the first time. I heard it said, and I just, heard it differently.
That's very interesting.
And there's so many different things. Also in South Africa, you go, for example, into a store, right? And they say shop, shop. And I always thought they were saying shop, shop. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to shop. Okay, just be patient.
Be patient with me.
I'm going to shop. No, but they are saying sharp, sharp. And that's just a way of greeting. like saying,
Ah,
hey, hi. And it's like sharp, sharp. It's everything okay? So we have all these different interesting expressions. And I'm so curious because I've studied several different languages. I'm always curious where these words or expressions come from. What's the
mm.
origin and why do we say these things?
Yeah, very interesting. So you do some work in South Africa as well.
Mhm.
What other continents have you been doing work in?
Well, in Africa, I've been to several different countries. There are so many countries, right? I've done in, it started on the African continent. It started in Ghana a few years back,
Mm.
then Cameroon. I co-hosted a conference there as well and spoke at another event. I was even on Cameroonian TV, which was so much
Ah,
fun.
that's cool.
Yeah. And a radio show as well. But then in South Africa, I've spent a total of probably 6 months and several different visits, mostly in Johannesburg, but also some other
Mm.
cities. And then I've spent a month in Rwanda, a month in
Mm.
Uganda. And I have been speaking with somebody in Zimbabwe now for years to do something, and it's always like put off, but it may happen still.
Mm.
So that's Africa, right? I've also been to Morocco, but only for vacation.
Ah,
It's
there
a
you go.
little bit different. And then, of course, Latin America. I mean, I lived in Latin America 9 years total.
Mm. What part?
And yeah, I lived in Brazil twice,
Okay.
in Sao Paulo and in Rio de Janeiro, and I lived in Argentina twice in Buenos Aires.
Mm.
And then and I've done work in other parts there too, because at the first time I lived in Buenos Aires, I was working with a startup and I was responsible for training and internal communication for their Latin American and Miami offices. And so I traveled also to Mexico and other places. So what else can I talk about? Well, Europe, of course, I am from Europe. I lived in Spain 7 years, did a lot of work in Portugal while I lived there with a job back then. And then in Brazil and Portugal, I opened offices for the Boston Consulting Group as well.
Very
I
cool.
think
Very
that's
cool.
about it.
Well, I want to
I've
shout
done
out.
some other work actually in
Where?
Asia. I forget.
Ah, there you go.
In Doha, in Qatar, I did a women's workshop for a week once.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
Mhm.
I want to give it a shout out to Willie the Bam Johnson. Willie, thank you so much for joining us. By the way, Willie is also going to be part of Speaking Prowess. He's going to be on the platform. He's got he's a public speaker and he's got great communication skills that he's going to be sharing with all of us. So I'm thrilled that he's not only saying hello to us here, but he's going to be joining us on Speaking Prowess. So what is it about Speaking Prowess that excites you, Regina?
Well, I think we really want to look at communication in a new way. Of course, everything about communication is important, the basics. I also love, for example, conversational intelligence. That's a specific methodology to build trust and to have more inclusive communication, all the good stuff. And we know that body language is important. There are so many different factors and elements in communication that I think sometimes we don't pay enough attention to certain aspects of it. So, for example, on Friday, I want to talk about energy in communication. Very critical, flows into everything we think, we say, and we do, but we don't pay enough attention to it.
Right.
And we have all these different experts who have their own take on what is important in communication and what they can contribute specifically. And this is what really, really excites me, that we bring those other, I don't know what to call it, really non-traditional aspects of communication and really look at it in a more holistic way.
I like the holistic aspect of it because it's not only energy, but it's calming, I believe. And it makes more sense when we don't have to be pressured. We don't have anxiety over it. And it's more soothing to not only us, but to our souls. If you think about the way we communicate, sometimes we get so, and I'm going to have to say, not me necessarily, because I can't remember the last time I was like crazy mad. But I don't throw things. I don't get angry. And the reason is because I realize, for me personally, there is so much negativity when I get angry. I think the last time I was really, really angry was probably when I was young, like under 18. I mean, really, really angry. And there never has come a time in my life, even when I've been in danger, where I've been angry, or even when somebody has done the wrong things towards me, that I've been angry. For some reason, someone said to me, "How come you're so nice to everybody, and even people who've been nasty to you and rude? Why are you so nice to them?" I said, "Because I don't want to take anything away from me. Because if I'm going to turn out and be negative towards them, that makes me a negative person. That's not what I want in my life." And I think that when we can consider the way we lead our lives, we can help more people, especially if we don't come with anger, but we show up with love. I think that's huge.
So it's also really bad for your liver if you get angry very often.
Yeah.
That's the organ related to anger, right? And it has to process all this anger, and it's just really strenuous for the liver.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that serenity aspect that you mentioned. And it's actually one of the words that I wrote down on the train here this morning when I was thinking about, okay, what do I want to think of when I hear speaking prowess? And one of the words that came to mind was serenity, and even maybe serendipity, but the serenity aspect where you're not hyper nervous. Of course, yes, when you go in front of an audience, there's always a little bit of nerves involved. It may even give you a little edge. It's normal. It's nothing bad.
Right.
But we want to get to a level where it doesn't distract us too much. And that's also something we definitely want to teach.
We keep talking about speaking prowess, and we have an event happening this Friday. Why don't we go ahead and share this video with everybody? Take a look, everybody.
Speaking Prowess is hosting a launch party you won't want to miss. Join us as we kick off this in-person event in Farmingdale, New York, with a lineup of dynamic speakers who will inspire and propel you forward. Join us on Friday, April 19th from 3 to 6 p.m. and gain valuable insights and practical strategies to communicate with confidence and impact both your personal and professional lives. These aren't your typical speakers. They're visionaries, disruptors, and experts who will challenge you to think differently. Then, when the sun sets, the energy rises. Join us for a cocktail party at 7 p.m. where you'll have the opportunity to rub shoulders with the brightest minds in the field of communication. It's a prime opportunity for networking and forging connections. On April 20th, the learning continues with interactive training. Choose from morning or afternoon sessions or immerse yourself in both. Whether you're looking to advance your career, strengthen your relationships, or build your confidence, Speaking Prowess has you covered. Reserve your spot today and unlock the key to effective communication. Speaking Prowess, where your voice matters. See you at the launch party.
See you at the launch party.
Yes, see you there. With your friends.
Yeah, where your voice matters. So let's talk about that, because I think that makes a huge difference, because in a relationship, a lot of times I hear couples speaking, and what I've heard, and I was with some couples recently, and I heard that when one of them spoke, the other one minimized what they said. And I was like, oh my God. I didn't want to say anything because I don't want to start I didn't want to start an argument between them or anything like that. But I was like, oh my gosh, they don't value the other person. And the other person was kind of cowarding a little bit. So how is that relationship? How is it building when you minimize what the other person is saying? And it wasn't just one time. I've seen it several times with this particular couple. And I was like, you know what? They've been together for a long time. But then you wonder, will they be together forever? And is that the way to live your life? where someone minimizes what you say or doesn't value it. And then they'll turn around and say, oh, yeah, I believe so and so. But meanwhile, their words say something else. So there's that communication. How is that where your words matter?
Yeah, that is really, really important. I think, we feel diminished ourselves when our words are diminished. So that is the very important secondary effect of this behavior. And it makes us feel maybe not enough, maybe less than the other person, maybe, we start underestimating ourselves as a result. So that can be very harmful. And it's definitely not great for the relationship in the long run. So especially when people have been together so long, you would think they should have learned this, but they don't always do that because we are not perfect as humans. So
No.
it's definitely something to work on.
But the thing is, they're doing it publicly,
Yeah,
which is worse. Now, there's another couple that I know, and you would think they were married, and they've been together for over 20 years, but they're actually business partners, and they love one another, and they both have their own spouses, and they're happily married. And when you consider a relationship, you don't have to be in a romantic relationship to be enamored by the other person, to feel love for them, to feel a connection. So your words do matter, because anytime I'm with these people, they're like raising each other up, and I'm like, my God, if only married people were like them, they would have a better relationship. But it's relationships overall. Do you want people in your life who uplift you or diminish you or put you down or lift you up? So communication, I think a lot of people don't realize what they do. And sometimes they don't even realize that maybe they have a very stressful job, and all day long they're going. And then they come home, they're exhausted. And what do they give their partner at home? Nothing, right? So at home, they're like, oh, I'm so exhausted. And then they have no energy for their spouse or their partner. And so I think that we need to understand that our partners, our relationships need energy. So if you come home, you're all exhausted, then you need to take 5 minutes to recoup and say, hey, you know what? I'm in this relationship. They need my energy too. Maybe not super high energy, but be present, I believe.
Yes. Oftentimes it's more about the quality of the energy than the quantity of the energy. You might be a little exhausted, depending on also what kind of work you do and what type of environment you work in, because that makes a big difference. We sometimes are depleted from riding the subway because the energy is very intense. So we also need to maybe take a step back and pause and observe and see, okay, what did that just do to me, and how can I maybe even prevent this next time? Because there is a lot of intense energy out there. There is a lot of anxiety, and we need to sometimes protect ourselves, especially in big cities, so we don't get as depleted.
Yeah. So if you live in a big city, what's one of the things that you can connect better with? I say go barefoot at home, because you're connecting with the ground. Even if you live on the 38th floor, if you live in a high rise in Manhattan, you can still, because that building is grounded, right? Otherwise you'd fall over. That you can still ground, even if you're on the 38th floor. Walk barefoot, feel the floor, because that is connected all the way down deep. And that's a good way for you to, when you come home, just take your shoes off. when I go to my house, my shoes always immediately come off. Oh, there's two things that I want to do. First, I don't want to bring dirt in my house. Second, I want to ground. So those are the two important things that I do every time I walk into my home. Because for me, that's a connection. That's communication with my body. So I have to communicate to my body that I got you. You're covered.
Yes. And I do certain dances that require being danced barefoot. Also, like Sabar, for example, or like I did a Ghanaian dance workshop just recently. You dance barefoot because that's the ancient wisdom of your connection to earth. Just like the drumming is and the drums are the heartbeat of the earth. You need to connect to the earth to stay healthy. As kids, we were constantly running around barefoot outside. I grew up in a tiny little village on a farm, and we would step on bees and get stung and wasps and whatnot, but it was just really healthy. And sometimes in the summer, when I go to the park, I make a point of taking my sneakers off and really walk in the grass, avoiding the areas where there are too many dogs. But
right, of course.
in the city.
Well, you just
I love dogs.
you took a walk in Central Park recently, right? How was that?
Yeah, it was nice. So it was a little colder, but it's definitely, yes, I did. And that's something that I always do when I'm in New York. I walk this park from north to south whenever I have time. I just love connecting to, even if you just also are among the trees and everything, that just helps me recharge. I also like the walks to practice presentations or talks, for example. When I have like something that I need to deliver from a stage where I don't necessarily want to use a lot of notes, that's when I would go to the park and practice, because that's just so much easier for me than pacing the room at home.
Right.
I get distracted, and there I also get distracted, but it's good type of distraction that actually trains you to see people and not get distracted. But at home, I get distracted by other things.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're probably like me. I am a people watcher. I am fascinated by people. So walking the park, you probably saw some people and you can tell their energy, whether they were like vibrant or they were down and walking with their heads down, right? That's communication, right? The way we interact with the world, right there is your communication. How do you show up? Because that's another aspect of communication. How do you show up to breakfast, to a party, to a dinner, to a presentation, to a show, to a movie, to anything, on a date? Do you come? So here's the thing, right? There was a movie back in the day, and I forget the name of the movie. I just was talking to someone about it, and it's a couple, and they're like, "Oh, can I be frank with you?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So he goes, "Actually, I'm an amputee," and he takes his leg off, and she goes, "Oh, well, if we're gonna go there," then she takes her wig off, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then, but they different things start coming off, and all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa!" And then, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know this." So it's about how real. And I know a lot of people use this word authentic, but in reality, how authentic and unique, if you will, are you when you show up anywhere? Because think about it. We've been using makeup our entire lives, right? Women use makeup, but men, we have makeup too. Our face, the way we shape our eyebrows, our nose, the way we curl our lips, all these different things, that's made up. So we do have this mask. But the beauty of it is that you can change your mask. You can adapt to be happy and have a better smile than a frown, right? You know what I do to kids? This is what I do to kids when I see them. They look sad, they're like, So I take them and they don't expect it. I flip them upside down. I go, see, now you're smiling. And all of a sudden,
Good
they
training.
actually start smiling. And
Yeah.
they're like, hey, why'd you do that to me? I said, because I wanted to see your smile. But I wasn't smiling. I was mad. I'm like, are you mad now? No. I'm like, okay, see? So we have to refrain and change sometimes the way we show up.
Yes. And after some time, actually, it might stay on your face.
Okay.
That just like a lot of sorrow gets expressed in the body, our body is an expression of the subconscious mind. It is what it is, right? And it also is an expression of habits.
Mm.
So we got to be careful with that too, actually.
Regina, is it okay if I tell him what you and I are going to do soon as well?
What are we going to do? Tell them.
We are going to be having a podcast together. It's called Speaking Prowess. And we're going to do some videos. We're going to just shoot a couple of things so we can put the commercial together, the intro, the outro. But we're going to start this soon, probably this weekend. And it'll be our first episode. We're going to come on every 2 weeks. We still haven't realized the time when we're going to do it, but we're going to figure that out. Because remember, we're in different time zones, and sometimes she's traveling, sometimes I'm traveling. So sometimes it might just be me, sometimes it might just be her. But we are going to do, because I think there's chemistry here, right? We're not in a relationship, but we are in a relationship. We're in a relationship of friendship. I think that's how it started. And now we're in a relationship of business partners. And when you consider getting to a relationship where you can ask questions, to communicate with one another, I think that's what makes us unique in that way, that we don't want to step on each other's toes, but we're going to say, hey, if I do this, will I step on your toes? And then we're going to go, yeah, but it won't hurt so much. So go for it. Right.
Right.
But this is where our communication truly helped us to understand that, yeah, we want to work together because there is chemistry between us. And this is why we're doing Speaking Prowess. When I came up with the idea of Speaking Prowess, I said, I have a good connection with this woman. Regina, do you want to be my partner? And she can tell you how that happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what actually makes this so exciting is that we are very different.
Mm-hmm.
We're very different. We have different, different personalities. We have different energy. We have different, so many things, right? But we have common goals and we have a common vision, a shared vision. And that's just really to make I know it sounds cliche, right? But to make the world a better place through better communication in a way, and do that on many different levels, whether it's in an organization, in a team, in a work situation, or outside of work. And I also believe that this is becoming more and more critical, actually, because we have so much division in the world, and we need to come together as humans, which makes us strong. That's one of my reasons. And I think we're going into some more challenging times, not less challenging times. And this might actually even be more critical.
Right? Because some people are using AI to communicate now. And I just saw a commercial for a company, and they shared, I think they're a makeup company, and they shared how a lot of people are creating AI images to use for their cosmetic company. But one of the messages that they said is, we will never replace humans and the beauty of humans. And that's why they said we will never use any AI images for our models. We're actually going to use real people, humans. And at first, they started with this beautiful, amazing looking girl. And then they went to another beautiful girl. And then they go, what's your take on beauty? And then they showed different people. people who were different looking, whether they were bigger, smaller, different eyes, different views, bigger noses, chins like me, big chin. So it shows that we can use AI to help us. But let's not forget the human connection that we have. And let's not use AI to communicate with one another. We need to still be present when we communicate.
Absolutely. I talk a lot also in my work about humanizing the workplace, for example. So we really need to stay in that attitude and in that mindset of humans are the center and the heart of any organization, right? And they are the heart of anything, really. Because that's why I also talk so much about heart usually, because it's not just about, I talk about heart set, right? But that's about many different things. It's about connecting to the heart, and it's also putting the people at the heart of your vision.
Regina, I got to tell you, by the way, this show's usually 15 minutes. We've been going 41
How
minutes.
much is it?
And so I'm so thrilled that you took the time to sit with me and share some of your insights with us as well. But I got to tell you, it's going across the screen. You see it right there, Speaking Prowess. Now, right now, when you go there, you're going to see our launch party. But after that, in the next couple of weeks, that's going to be transferring over to our Speaking Prowess platform, our website, where we're going to feature a lot of the speakers. We're going to feature the show. We're going to feature different skills that you can acquire as a communicator. And we have courses. We have amazing instructors who are already saying, I'm ready to put my course on there. Well, let's go, let's go, let's go. We're not going to rush into it. We may not start right away, but we probably will start sometime in May or even June, the end of May. End of May, middle of May, somewhere around there, where we actually have the whole website set up so that you can see the amazing speakers, coaches, teachers who are going to come on. We have people literally from all over the world who are going to be teaching on the platform. There's going to be all kinds of courses on body language, facial language, skills, even how to do your different pitches, all different kinds of talks on how you can communicate better. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm delighted too. So it's, we will have all these different angles and aspects of communication covered. And we're adding, once it's started, it's going to be unstoppable. So we're adding more and more courses, and you will be able to take advantage of those.
Yeah. And here's the cool thing. We're also adding more and more instructors, teachers. I'm talking to a couple of professors. I'm talking to some even high school principals, assistant principals. I'm talking to some therapists on speech. We also have, believe it or not, an amazing gentleman who teaches lawyers how to even start their communication because they have to be in front of a jury and they have to be convincing. And it's the words they use that can either make or break a case. So, how important is that? Imagine if you have a sales team and your sales team does pretty good, but what if it can go up 20%, 30%, 40%, even higher? Because now you are training your staff, your sales team with speaking prowess so they can make better sales. We also going to have communication courses on negotiations, how to negotiate. I got to tell you, I am paying, and don't listen, right? Don't tell my landlord. but I'm paying less rent now than I did in 2016 in the same space I'm in now. Regina, is this a big space?
It is huge and it is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's the first thing that Regina said. Oh my gosh, this place is big. And then she walked inside and then she said, it's beautiful. My lobby is the size of most martial arts schools. I have a huge lobby. And why do I do that? Because I want people to feel at home when they come in. But then in the back, we have our communication center, which has been redone. And we have a video wall. We have all these different cool things in order to inspire people to be more, to get more. You can't get more if you're not more, right?
Yes, and the walls communicate too here. There are inspiring messages everywhere, and of course also images and yes, and photos and whatnot. But I really love the messages.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys for joining us, Regina. Thank you.
Thank
High
you, Bob.
five.
Having me
Awesome.
on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and tomorrow's Meditation Thursday. So let's do it, and I look forward to it then. Have an amazing rest of your day. If you like the show, go ahead and like it, follow. If you like me, follow me. If you like Regina, follow Regina. Regina, what's your handle so they can follow you on Facebook?
On Facebook, it's Regina Huber 369. If you need the exact URL, so it's Regina Huber. Yes, and on YouTube, it's also at Regina Huber. On LinkedIn, it's Regina Huber. So it's easy to find. And we both have multiple businesses, so just check them out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have a great one, everybody. Take care.